Okay, this is going to be the second podcast, the second MrPenriquez podcast. I have the microphone right in front of my face this time because, it's just better. It sounds better, everything like that. That being said, hopefully I'm not going to be too loud. I don't know. Anyway, this episode is about my mother. It's really just an homage to her. I just kind of wanted to do this. Originally I wanted to do a video for my mom during Mother's Day a long time ago, but I never did. Now I have this whole thing I'm doing now, so kind of wanted to do a little bit of a podcast for her. I did trim up a little bit, just because I needed to. So there's that. Yeah. Let me begin by just saying that, of course, my mother is literally the strongest and most amazing woman I have ever known or really heard of, in all honesty. I know there's a lot of great women out there and everything like that, and great mothers, everything like that. But there are reasons why I, of course, say that. Now, of course, someone will be like, yeah, well, everyone thinks them. Well, maybe not everyone, because there are definitely really bad mothers out there. But, she literally raised my brother and I, alone in poverty. We were homeless several times, everything like that. So let me begin by saying my mother has lived in a lot of places. She's even lived in Mexico. She's white. She's not Mexican or anything like that. My father was Mexican American. But my mother's the white half of me. I like to joke around about. When she was pregnant with me, she literally put her normal life on sort of a pause, because obviously she's having a kid. She can't be, as focused as she wanted to be on her studies and everything like that. So it is what it is. It happens, So, but she did what she thought was right, and that meant just being able to have her child in the way that she needed to have her child. Like, anyway. So when I was a kid, or when I was a baby, she found out that my father was seeing another woman, and he had already had a kid with her, which is thankfully true, because that way I did not get the name of Oscar Jr. That would have been kind of horrible, honestly. I'm not not that Oscar's a bad name. It's just I'm not really an Oscar. You know what I mean? But anyway, when she found out about that, she took me and we went back to, oh well, she took me back with her to Sheridan, Wyoming, where she's from, and we stayed there with our family, and yeah, then we went to Montana, and that's where she met my first stepfather, and that was about when I was 5. It was around 5, something like that. 4 or 5 when they got married, I think. I'm not exactly certain because I haven't really asked her exact specific details, but from what I remember, it was definitely by the time I was 5, because I was 6 when my brother was born. But of course, she always worked her butt off to keep us, safe, to keep us going and have food for us, everything like that. My mother, of course, moved to different places with my first stepfather, again showing that she was changing her life to go where her heart led her, you know. And that's what my mother always did and does. She just goes where her heart leads her to go. So, not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing and any of that. Uh, I will say that sometimes it hasn't quite worked out. Obviously, that happens with all of us. So, yeah. But yeah, I put in here when I was 6, my mother gave birth to my favorite brother, my favorite younger brother. He's my only younger brother, by the way. So, but anyway, uh, but yeah, of course, she's always been there for us. She's a fantastic artist, and she was always selling her artwork. She still kind of sells her artwork a little bit, but she doesn't do as much of that as she used to because she does a lot more of the. I don't know. She's doing more writing and she's a pastor, other stuff like that. So my first stepfather, my brother's father, he was very abusive when he was drunk, and and on other stuff. He was the cause of so many problems in our lives at the time. But I will say that I wouldn't have my brother if it wasn't for him. So I can't really just I never once wished that he was at least not on purpose wish that he was dead. There was a story that my mother told me about where I may have told him that if he ever touched my mother again, I would kill him. That I don't know if. I mean, I think that's what my mom said, but anyway, obviously I was a young kid. I was whatever, but she didn't want that. She didn't want me to think like that and everything. So that's one of the reasons why she left him. I will say my mother wrote she wrote a sort of devotional a little while back with some of her story, like some of the story from her point of view. So some of the other things that have happened in her life, but mostly from that. And she has verses in there from where like what she thinks is the the what stuff what verses and everything like that have helped her with those things. So she definitely she wrote it. It's really a great thing. Here's I have it over here because I have it kind of just like I'm reading it too. So, but it's called "Don't Be Afraid." God loves you. Inspiration for the suffering, and yeah, the stuff in here, like some of the stuff, obviously it's not all bad stuff, but some of the stuff is not something I can technically read too much on like YouTube and whatnot. But I mean, there's no cuss words or anything like that. But if you want to read the book and have some verses that can help you if you're in that kind of situation, everything like that, I will put a link to the Amazon, like the Amazon, like purchasing, everything like that. Yeah, it's definitely not one that you want to read if you're just like, oh, I'm a happy-go-lucky person, but you know, and after a certain point, and so many things happening between my first stepfather and us, my mother took, or my brother and me, because that is actually the correct way to say that. But she took my brother and me back to her hometown and family. And so we lived there through pretty much the rest of my childhood. And my cousins and my aunt one of my aunts, they lived in Great Falls with us as well. They also lived in Billings when we lived there, and they also moved back to Sheridan. So it kind of like we were always kind of more like brothers. So my those two families are like we're just very interconnected, you know, at least for the most part. So my mother, of course, kept working hard, and she worked nights, all sorts of stuff, but she always made sure that my brother and I always had our, whatever we needed as far as like necessities, anything like that. Um, Most of the stuff that I have and ever have had, other than like maybe every so often, kids' toys and stuff like that when I was growing up. But most of the stuff that I've had, especially the more expensive stuff, I've had to, get myself. I've had to earn my money. Sorry. But earn my money and also just, buy it myself, which is fine. That's a great way to live because we get too many times do we see these kids that are just handed stuff, handed an iPhone. It's like, oh gosh, I just want you to stop whining. No, no. Have them buy their own phones later on if they want something crazy. If they, you know, if you need to get them something, you get them like a flip phone or something like that. Or watch. One of those watch with the calling things, Like, no child needs an iPhone, especially like an iPhone, like whatever they're up to now, Pro, Maxi Pad, I don't know. Whatever it's called nowadays. We don't need that stuff, Especially kids. They don't need that stuff. But I digress. Like I said in my joke yesterday, when I was a kid, we had sticks and stones to play with, and you know how that goes. I'm kidding mostly. I mean, we had marbles too. So, anyway, but of course, she's also taught me to stand up for what I believe in and never to just take anyone else's words for anything, You always have to do your own research, figure out what's real, what's true, and to trust God, Um, that last part is always one of the most difficult parts for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, you know. And of course, not everybody believes in God and blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't trust God and you don't do what you need to do, it's just not going to work out for you. Not going to work out for you. No, it might. It might work out for you. But there's definitely more positive things that happen for you when you got God on your side. So she has since gone back to school. So she's actually gotten a degree. She's actually working on her. I think she's in getting a doctorate now. I don't know anymore. But she's doing so much. It's just but she doesn't even really have to exactly. She's technically like I don't know, retired or whatever. Well, not really retired, I guess, because if she's still working, she's still doing stuff. Not really retirement, is it? No, it ain't. Okay. Final point I have here is, she's taught me never to give up no matter what life throws at me. No matter what happens in your life, it doesn't matter what it is, like homelessness, losing your vehicle, losing all your stuff. I mean, we've lost all of our stuff so many times. It's not even funny. It's really not even funny. It's, I mean, heck, I've slept between a dumpster and my place of employment at one point in my life. Now, it's a lot more commonplace now that like people are starting to go to this van life thing and everything like that. But that's a choice that they made. It's not oh, hey. Now, the issues that I had were because of choices that I made. So it's not, but I didn't technically want to make that choice to be sleeping there, you know. But just, never give up. That's just the whole point. Never give up, no matter what. Well, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, and everything like that. Talk to you guys later. I gotta get a different way of doing this.